Our first order on the agenda is a call to order. We will salute the flag and we will stay standing for a moment of silence. Recently, our facilities manager's father died. If we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you, everyone. I got a motion for the approval of minutes for the executive session on March 29th and the open session on March 29th.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. There was no correspondence. We have no one signed up for public agenda, excuse me, no one signed up to make public comments. And the consent agenda. I got a motion made to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. De Silva, members of the committee. First item on the agenda, I would call the principal of Centerdale Elementary School, Mrs. Donna Hanley, to the podium. Mrs. Hanley.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we would like to acknowledge and recognize a student of Centerdale who is one of the many shining stars that we have at Centerdale. The student we are referencing is Aria Bellany. In March of this year, her parents submitted a video for a reading contest. This reading contest was Aria reading a book. And it wasn't just reading a book, it was her ability to be able to read with intonation and really engage the readers. So this contest was offered to statewide Rhode Island as well as some of the neighboring Massachusetts areas. Aria was selected as one of the top 10 finalists. So we were pretty excited when we heard that. The selection committee then reviewed all of the finalists and selected Aria as the winner for this contest. Along with the other 9 finalists, Aria visited the Rhode Island PBS on Thursday, April 13th, for a celebration that included lunch, a station tour, and being filmed in the studio for the kids reading across Rhode Island. This Camp TV is a PBS program that is part of it's to engage students in the reading process. It's one of the many programs that are offered by PBS that are very educational. The Camp TV is an affiliate of the WNET radio TV station, so it will be filmed nationally, which is really a great thing that our students are being recognized in this way. So while she was visiting the studio, she was also filmed reading a segment of The Aquanaut, which is a book by Dan Santat, which will be premiered at the event on May 13th that we will have at the State House. Along with this, Aria was also filmed in reading a book, Milo's Endless Drawing Pad, for the Tell Me a Story section at our library at Centerdale. So it was just really exciting to see Aria represented Centerdale in such a positive and amazing light. Aria is a child who loves reading. She's a child who excels at many of the things that she attempts. So when we think about Aria's success, we are here to celebrate her, and we are here to acknowledge her hard work that she has put forth. But her journey and her exceptional reading skills are in place because she has had such a strong foundation. Her parents, who are exceptional in creating the homeschool connection, has really supported her academic growth. Aria has had the great opportunity to learn with some of Centerdale's amazing and dedicated teachers. As we celebrate Aria, I also want to celebrate the teachers that taught Aria to love reading and supported her for the success that she demonstrated to win that contest. To kick off her love of reading was her kindergarten teacher, Miss Manzo, followed with strong foundational skills supported by her grade 1 teacher, Miss Coates. Additionally, those skills were strengthened with learning to read with meaning and intonation by her second grade teacher, Mr. Cachadorian. And today, presently, her third grade teacher, Ms. Tordo, who is teaching her to read for a purpose. Every child at Centerdale will succeed with these amazing staff that continues to support our students with the best that they can be. Congratulations to Aria and her family. We are so proud of you and how you represent Centerdale.
Come on up, Aria, and your family. We would like to read a citation on behalf of the North Providence School Committee. Be it hereby known to all that the school committee offers its sincerest congratulations to Aria Bellany, first place winner of the Rhode Island PBS statewide Read a Book contest. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for your continued success. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. At this time, I would invite to the podium for our next item, Principal of Ritchie Middle School, TJ Mellon. Come on up to the podium, TJ. It's been a regular occurrence that we've had multiple Golden Apple Award winners in North Providence, and Mr. Mellon is here to talk to us about our latest recipient at Ritchie Middle School.
Before I speak on behalf of Mrs. Connors, I'd like to recognize her in the back with her family. If you guys don't mind standing up, that'd be excellent. Thank you. And I just realized I'm at the age now where I actually need glasses, and I didn't bring any, so I'll do my best, but you may see me squint a little. I am honored to be here tonight to say a few words about Mrs. Connors, Ritchie Middle School's amazing social studies teacher and recent recipient of the prestigious Golden Apple Award. I've had the privilege of working with Terry for the last 9 years. There's not a day that has gone by where Mrs. Connors doesn't give everything she has to give her students the best educational experience possible. She takes the time to get to know each one of her students on a personal level. She challenges them to think critically and provides them with opportunities to explore and solve real-world problems in the Ritchie Middle School community and beyond. Mrs. Connors has taught for 18 years, all of them at Ritchie Middle School. She has been nominated for Ritchie's Teacher of the Year on 2 occasions, and in 2019 she received the North Providence School District's Teacher of the Year award. I asked her the other day why she became a teacher. She stated that it was something she's always wanted to do. She was the crazy kid in the neighborhood that lined up the lawn chairs and made the kids play school. She got a little sidetrack in life, so she pursued teaching when she was a little older. Middle school is the only level she wanted to teach because she remembers how crazy she was at this age. According to Terry, the best part of the job is seeing students make progress and hopefully inspiring them to think about the world around them. Mrs. Connors and her students frequently engage in learning activities centered on project-based learning. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this concept, PBL is a student-centered pedagogy that involves a dynamic classroom approach in which students acquire a deeper knowledge through active exploration of real-world challenges and problems. To give you some examples of what our students have accomplished, 1 year, 2 students researched the lack of educational equity for females worldwide. They ended up sponsoring a 10-year-old Ethiopian girl for the entire school year. Mrs. Connors and her students continued that project for 3 years with fundraisers. At one point, students researched the connection between truancy and lack of clean clothing. They helped her improve, organize, and publicize the Ritchie Closet. The Ritchie Closet is a place where students at Ritchie can go to get clean clothes, a warm jacket, or a pair of sneakers or shoes when in need. This year, she had one student research the difficulties and trauma faced by children that lose a parent to cancer. The students partnered with Cuddles of Hope and raised over $1,000. A former student researched the difficulties of children in the foster care system. That student worked with an organization that collects backpacks full of necessities so that when children are taken out of their homes, they do not have to put their possessions in trash bags. As you can see, Mrs. Connors creates a classroom environment where students not only learn about our world, but also work to help others through creative problem solving and project development. Ultimately, that is what teaching is about. I named only a few amazing things she has done with her students over the years. There are countless others. We are blessed to have her at Ritchie, and we are all very proud of her receiving this prestigious Golden Apple Award. Congratulations, Mrs. Connors.
Mrs. Connors, why don't you just come on up front? I'll present you with a citation on behalf of the school committee with Mr. Mellon. On behalf of the North Providence School Committee, we hereby offer sincere congratulations to Teresa Connors for receiving the Rhode Island Department of Education and WJAR Channel 10 Golden Apple Award. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success and offers congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Mellon. At this time, I would invite high school principal, Ms. Kristen McGill, to the podium to recognize the first place winners and their coaches of the Rhode Island High School Technology Student Association State Leadership Conference. Mrs. McGill.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, we have the honor of recognizing several students who competed in the TSA competition. They are under the guidance of Ms. Corinne Jelinas, who is their moderator, and it falls under the leadership of Mrs. Melissa Caffrey, our Director of Pathways, who oversees this wonderful program that will honor several students this evening. So TSA, for those of you who do not know, the Technical Student Association is a national student organization created to develop skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. TSA aims to develop leadership, academics, and management skills in the workplace among students and leaders within the community. North Providence High School students competed in the Rhode Island TSA State Leadership Conference at the University of Rhode Island, and the following students took home trophies. First place, for architectural design, Caden Andrade and Jack Spinella, please stand. Remain standing as I call the rest of the students, please. First place in CAD architectural design, Jack Wayland. First place in audio podcasting, James Gambardella and Mohammed Khan. First place in coding, Taylor Varr. First place in digital video production, Albert Pyers, Kenny Brown, and Janiyah Rodriguez. First place essays on technology, Madeline Ferrand, who's already standing off to the side behind the mayor. First place musical production, Nora O'Connor. First place promotional design, who's already standing, Jonelle English. First place structural engineering, Cameron Brackett and Gianni Estrada. In the back, already standing. Before I read this one for first place video game design, in the words of Mrs. Jelinas, Taylor was awarded this first place trophy 3 out of the 3 years, and she's confident if COVID didn't ruin the 2020 competition season, he would have been 4 for 4. So Taylor Varr, first place 3 out of 3 years competing. And finally, first place webmaster, Alicia Drong.
So, Mrs. McGill, you have the citations. You can give them to Mrs. Jelinas, and she can pass them out to the students. But if there's anywhere in the library where the families would like to take a group photo, feel free to take them there now, and either the back or up the front with the school committee. It's up to you. Whatever's easier. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, more recognition. I'd like to invite the head coach of our North Providence High School cheerleading squad, Gianna Nassi, and Coach Abby as well, up to the podium.
Oh, I can see that. Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Goho and the school committee for having us here tonight. So what a fun and enjoyable year it was with this group of girls. Many people don't realize that we start our season back in August, preparing for homecoming, football games, game day competition. Then we transition right to our basketball season as well as our comp season. This year, our girls cheered right up through basketball playoffs, which was on February 26th. That left them only 1 week to give their full attention to our actual comp season. And what a tremendous season it was. So a few highlights for this season. Our first competition was the Rhode Island Coaches Association Divisional Championship on March 4th, where the team placed first in Division 2. We went on to the Rhode Island Interscholastic League state competition on March 11th, and we won a back-to-back Division II state championship, as well as finishing third place overall in the state of Rhode Island out of 26 teams. This win is what qualified them to participate at the New England Championship. That was their last performance at Worcester State on March 18th. The girls competed against 14 other teams from all over New England. And for the first time in North Providence High School history, the team placed in the top 3, taking home a third place trophy. Obviously, a fantastic way for us to end an amazing season. Abby and I could not be any more proud of them. We could not have asked for a more fun and hardworking group of athletes this year. And we really are proud of all of your accomplishments. So I'm just going to say their names so they can stand. And so we have Captain Juliana Catelli, Captain Ava Ballo, Captain Ali Santana. We have Chloe Porcelli, Kaylin Kohansky, Athena Andrade, Kylie Murray, Victoria Valella, Angelina Valella, and Olivia Catelli, who could not be here tonight.
So hang on, ladies. I do have to read a citation to Coach Nassi, and then I'm going to have you guys come on up front with your coaches and take a picture. So we do have a citation. Ms. Nassi has been a regular here at our school committee meetings over the last several months. So from the North Providence School Committee, hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Gianna Nassi, Division II competitive cheerleading coach, state champion for the 2nd consecutive year. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success and, of course, congratulations. So come on up, ladies, coaches. Anybody that wants to take a photo, we're going to line them up right over here. Come on, please. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.
So we're about to continue our meeting with a presentation of the Rhode Island Department of Education Secondary Education Regulations. And if you're not interested in that because you're a very good reader, it's okay to leave. Because I think everyone else took off already. What grade is she again? Wow. Well, I teach fourth, so there you go.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to invite our friends from the Rhode Island Department of Education come up to the podium. I know you have a presentation to the committee on the new RIDE secondary regulations, which will be impacting our program grades 6 through 12. I think it's great that we inform the committee on some of the issues that we're going to be changing and impacting our middle school and high school students, and some of the exciting changes coming to our educational program. So come on up. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Anna. I thought you were leading it. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Thank you very much for having
Mr.
us.
Osborne.
I'm Steve Osborne, Student Opportunity Officer at the Department of Ed. Let me just first off start by saying I've been to a lot of school committee meetings over the years. This has been by far like the most positive in terms of energy. So I just want to say I'm not surprised to see that here in North Providence, but again, it's really refreshing to come out and see that and to see the positivity that you all have brought here. So congratulations. So I'm here tonight with Anna Holland, who actually used to be a school counselor at Ritchie Middle School. Anna is now with us and oversees our school counseling work at the Department of Ed. So she's brought the knowledge that she learned here in North Providence, is bringing that to RIDE. And then Olivia Smith, who is a part of our Reimagining High School team and has been leading this work. So our goal tonight is just to give an overview of the regulation changes that we've recently put in place. This is our first presentation to a school committee on the reg changes. And so I think we're really excited to be here, really excited to get your feedback and hopefully figure out how to best leverage these conversations for you all as we move forward. So on November 15th, 2022, the K-12 Council, which functions now as the Board of Education, the Board of Regents used to, unanimously approved readiness-based graduation requirements for the class of 2028. Throughout the proposal, we had initially talked about the class of 2027. In response that we received from superintendents, from school committees, and others, we did give an additional year in the final proposal to help support folks with planning. The goal of the new graduation requirements is to develop a system where every single one of our kids graduates high school with open doors to be able to create their future. That future might be college. That future might be work. Our goal is to make sure our kids are able to start that as soon as they graduate high school. There's three key priorities that we've laid out in the new graduation requirements. We'll walk through each of those briefly. Priority one is we need to prepare our graduates, our kids, to create their own future. Why? And I won't go through all the comments in here, but everything that's written into the slides is different forms of feedback that we received either from students, from public events, or different public conversations we had on the regs. Throughout that process, we heard from folks is that we need to make sure high school is meaningful in helping our kids create their future. In 2019, we went through a process called the Education Opportunity Audit, where we had about 20 schools statewide come together and they did student surveys on what our young people wanted for their futures. So this was done at the end of the school year when students were about to graduate. It was 80% of our high school seniors said they wanted to go to either a 2-year or 4-year public college. We did some work where we actually dove deep into student transcripts and saw what courses our kids were taking. When we did that, we saw only 60% of those students had actually taken the classes that would graduate them eligible to go to the University of Rhode Island, to Rhode Island College, and most of our regional colleges. Then when we dove in even deeper, we realized that only 1 in 2 of our kids statewide had actually passed the classes to be considered eligible. So when our kids walk across the stage back in 2019, only about half of them were actually prepared to be considered for enrollment at our public colleges. So what we did with the new regs is we set the default expectation that every single one of our kids would graduate high school completing the coursework that would allow them to be both college and career ready. We did add a piece into the regulations that allows students with the informed consent of their parent or guardian to enroll in an approved readiness pathway, which would allow students to take courses which may deviate from the college prep path. This chart is way too small, but what it does is we have always required 20 classes from the Department of Ed. We worked very hard to not add additional courses because we know that there's budget considerations, different constraints that you all face. What we aimed to do is to create a clarity and alignment on those requirements so our kids can graduate with an open door to post-secondary education if that's what they want to do. And I'll give a couple of examples here. So historically, in Rhode Island, we've always required 4 maths. But to be considered eligible to go to URI, RIC, and most of the regional colleges, you have to take and pass Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry to be considered. So moving forward for the class of 2028, students will have to take Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry for high school graduation. And as I said in the previous slide, let's say obviously Algebra 2 is not easy, right? Many of us had our own struggles in Algebra 2, let's be honest, is that we have it set up where the student with the informed consent of their parent could enroll in a different course sequence. So take something like statistics, which I think we all use on a regular basis, is still rigorous and meaningful, is students, again, with the advised consent of the parent, could enroll in something like statistics with the awareness and knowledge that may prevent them from being eligible to go to URI or RIC. We've also put in place a world language requirement. We have worked to carve that out from what was additionally the additional units section of the regulations, which again, students have to take 2 credits in world language to be considered for enrollment at the public colleges. We also wanted to take advantage of the golden ticket that our kids have in Rhode Island Promise. So every single one of our kids in the state of Rhode Island has the ability to get a tuition-free associate's degree at no cost to the student, no cost to the parent. If we were to say that 10, 15 years ago, folks would be like, wow, how do we sign up for that? But the one thing our young people have to do to be considered eligible for it is to complete the FAFSA. And so what we have done is we will be including FAFSA in school accountability starting with the class of 2029. So that'll actually be in the accountability release in the fall of 2029 to make sure that our schools are supporting students in completing the FAFSA. The great news is Rhode Island is in good shape as a state, where we've consistently been in the top 5 to 10 states in the country in terms of FAFSA completion. But we still have a good number of schools and districts in the state that have about 1/3 of the students completing the FAFSA. So there's a lot of young people who could take advantage of that golden ticket, but currently are not. Additionally, we know that most of our kids are actually having to work to support themselves. Even if they go to college, our kids will need to work most of them will need to work to support themselves before they get a post-secondary degree. And so we're requiring that our young people would need to have a resume as a graduation requirement. Priority 2, when we met with our young people, we heard loud and clear, our kids are bored. They're not seeing how learning in the classroom is relevant and meaningful for their future. This may not be the case in North Providence High School, as you all are doing a lot of work in the CTE space, the pathway space, whether it be with TSA or some of the other programs that we heard from earlier. But statewide, when we spoke to our young people, is about half of our kids in the state of Rhode Island right now said that they had little opportunity to pursue their passions during high school. And about 1/4 of our kids statewide felt like their courses did not give them information that was useful for their future. So obviously there's a big problem if we have that large of a disconnect between how our young people feel about their high school experiences. So what we did is we called out a handful of different requirements. Several of these have been put in place legislatively over the last couple of years and wanted to connect them to a lot of the feedback we heard from our young people. First, our young people will need to demonstrate proficiency in civics to be able to graduate high school. Obviously, we want our young people to be engaged and informed citizens in their community. We want our kids to be and graduate high school financially literate. We're asking our kids to take out 6 figures in student loans when they're 17 years old. They should at least have information on what they're signing up for when they do that. We also want our young people to graduate high school proficient in computer science. Again, this isn't a surprise to you all here in North Providence. You guys have been leaders in the forefront of this work. But computer science is a big part of the 21st century economy. And if our kids are not exposed to it, they're not going to be confident and comfortable to major in it when they go to college or to be able to work in it after they graduate. Also, we've actually had this as a requirement for about 15 years, but we wanted to remind folks of this, is our kids do need to graduate high school proficient in the arts. We also worked and received a lot of feedback from folks that we have kids who are doing great work in CTE and in dual enrollment, and they need additional flexibility to go deeper in what they know they want to do after high school. So we've actually given additional schedule flexibility for our kids who are in full-time dual enrollment programs and for our kids who are in CTE programs. Additionally, we also created something called flex credits. So instead of students sitting in a math class, a science class, and let's say an engineering CTE program, let's create a learning experience where you're actually embedding engineering and the math class and the science class, so you don't have to take the class that you're interested in. So we want to do work to again, make learning more interesting for our kids and also to help give our teachers more tools to innovate. We also wanted to make sure that every school in the state recognized work-based learning as a form of academic learning. Again, you all have been leaders in this space with a lot of the CTE work and the work through PTech, but many students are completing very rigorous, both academically and technically, work-based learning experiences, and our kids are not actually getting academic credit for that. We also are committing to revitalizing diploma endorsements. This is something RIDE created about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was aimed to help recognize students who might graduate, let's say, proficient in, let's say, civics or STEM. But something that we had failed to do previously is we never connected that to post-secondary education or to employers in Rhode Island. And so what we're committing to is making sure that if a kid earns a STEM endorsement in Rhode Island, that actually gives them advanced standing if they were to apply to go to URI, RIC, or many of our other colleges, or have advanced standing with employers. Priority 3, and then this one's throwing folks for a loop, is in many ways, high schools have remained exactly the same, but in many ways, high schools changed a lot. And we as a state need to change how we support our kids and our families. One line I'll just call out here that has kind of always stayed with me is one of the pieces of feedback that we get is it's the burden to access resources and support is always on the student and their family. And so instead of having that student, again, at that, the age of 14 or 15 to step up, is how do we bring that support and service to our young people? One piece we wanted to call out is just in general, throughout the country over the last 40 years, the high school experience has changed a lot. In 1982, which was kind of the first year they started to collect a lot of education data, is the average high school graduate in the country earned about 21.6 credits. In 2019, which is the last year they collected this information, the average high school graduate nationally earned 28.1 credits. That's about a 30% increase over the last 40 years. So unless schools have revisited schedules, kind of looked at staffing, looked at different models, it's going to be hard for our young people to graduate competitive with their peers in other states if we're not taking thoughtful, innovative solutions on making sure our kids are getting the learning experiences they need. Additionally, our young people have a lot of responsibilities at home and outside the school day. This is some data that we pulled that was just really staggering, is a lot of our young people are having to work to support their families and to contribute at home. Is that youth earnings move 42% of families below poverty, out of poverty. Again, it's amazing and humbling to think about that, but our 16, 17, and 18-year-olds who might be working right now after school are literally helping lift their families out of poverty. And families that are right above that line, the youth earnings move about a third of those families twice above the poverty line. So our kids are literally lifting their families out of poverty. Additionally, we started to collect information at RIDE through SurveyWorks on caregiving back in the 2020-21 school year. And we were shocked to learn 36% of our young people on any given day are taking care of a brother, sister, parent, or grandparent. And again, this shows up in many ways in the school day. but it is something that is something we want to do more to help commit and support our kids with. And again, our young people are showing the character development, the types of good citizens we want to have in our communities. But historically, many of our schools have not given our kids the supports that they've needed. So what we propose with the regulations is that every school statewide would provide some support and flexibility for caregiving youth and for students who work. I'll give an example from that we've seen is we have some communities, the school day for the high school will start early, and the elementary schools will start later. Let's say you have a one-parent household, the parent works, there has to be somebody at the bus stop to see the elementary school student off to the bus. And so in school visits we've seen is the high school students are consistently late every day because they're seeing the younger brother or younger sister off to the bus stop because they're taking that responsibility on because mom's working. So instead of marking that student tardy every day, let's come up with a more thoughtful, more creative, more supportive solution to help that student. Also, when we surveyed parents statewide, is 2 out of 3 parents at the high school level said they did not receive regular updates on how their sons and daughters were doing in school, and half of them didn't know if their kids were struggling. So there's a lot more that we can do as a community and as a state to make sure our parents know how their kids are doing when they're in high school. So there's always been a requirement that our school departments set different criteria to identify if kids are on track to graduate college and career ready. We have proposed that our parents would receive annual updates that would share that information with our parents so they'd be able to know if their kids are on track. Here's a nice summary slide. I swear it looks a lot better when we have it printed out. I can't squint that far. As we move forward and we transition to these new requirements, we at RIDE have developed a 5-year action plan to be able to help outline the support we're going to offer to our school and districts as we move forward. We view this as work we want to do together. I joined, as kind of funny side, I joined RIDE in June 2014, literally the week before the NECAP graduation requirements were repealed by the General Assembly, helped onboard me to this work and to really see how RIDE has passed regulations in the past, has not always followed it up with support. So we right now are finalizing the action plan that goes along with the regulations, which will outline our work for the next 5 years. And that we want folks like Joe and Gina, when you're down in Cheraho, to hold us accountable for making sure we're giving you the support and assistance you all need to be successful with this work. We believe these regulations, accompanied by the support, will help make sure that every one of our kids graduate high school with the ability to be able to create their own future, not where the schools they're going to are limiting their futures. So we want to say thank you all very much for having us here. Again, we're really excited for this work together. We're really excited for the feedback. One thing we've embraced along the way is there are things we're going to do well. There's things that we're not going to do well. And we want all feedback. So if there's things we've said today that you're like, hey, that sounds great, we always love that feedback. But one thing that has helped us get this right, and our goal has not been to be right, our goal is to get this right so we can help support, again, everyone doing the work, Joe and the team, and getting this right, is let us know what you all are concerned about. Let us know what North Providence needs to be successful. And again, we look forward to being a partner. And again, it's been excited to be a part of supporting the great work here in the past. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. I don't know if there are any questions from any members of the committee or comments that you'd like to offer. So I do want to thank you, Mr. Osborne, and your team for coming out to our school committee meeting and providing the information to the public as well. You've been out to the district to meet with our central office team and our building administrators. That was a great session, very informative. Helped us get a head start on where this is heading. And I have to agree, RIDE has been very responsive. When the regs first came out a year and a half ago, there was a lot of angst around the state about what some of those requirements were going to look like. And then there've been so many permutations and changes to them. And I think we've arrived at a good spot. Speaking to the 2 middle school principals and the high school principal, they're practical, they're reasonable, they make sense. And pretty much all of the concerns that you heard from the state have been addressed with a great deal of flexibility. So I know we really appreciate that, and we'd like to thank you for that as well. So again, thank you, and look forward to working with you in the future as we unroll these and start preparing our district for the benefits that our kids will experience. And you guys have been a great partner with us on this, and I thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. With the committee's consent, I'd like to move up number 13, request to address the committee, and that would be male and body.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you. I came here to chat a little about the use of our facilities. With me tonight is Matt Rahelia, Marcus DeRosa, and Ron Giorgio. So I guess they were utilizing our couple of our gyms a while back, and there may have been a couple of issues. And when they came back in, after what they thought they addressed the requests, they were told that they couldn't even apply for use of the facilities. I don't know if you know about this, but I have a problem with that. I would like to think that this committee is taxed with allowing or refusing the use of the facilities here at the high school. They were asked or told that there were a couple of issues. They were also told by in-house that they had addressed them. When they came back again to request use of the facilities, they were told they couldn't even accept their application. The league that they're involved with includes a couple of teachers, a couple of graduates, one in particular that's a police officer with us. Every one of the participants in this league are North Providence residents. So I don't know what else to say, but I'm a little miffed by the fact that they were refused by a secretary, so to say, in the administration building, that they couldn't apply. I wish I would have known this a long time ago when this was brought to my attention. I thought that I needed to come here and also ask these fellas to answer any of the questions that this committee may have. I think there was a question of custodians. I think we pay custodians to stay here at night. I think there was also a question of some. Could you come up a minute, Mark? There was a question of maybe some unnecessary noise outside the building. I think that could be addressed on our part, on the town's part, the police department, so to say, if in fact people were leaving the game and being a little boisterous. But it's a little disappointing that this league that has the support of most of our educators, so to say, or people involved in recreation here, didn't have the opportunity to request and listen to any of the concerns that this committee may have had at that time, so that they could continue to use the facilities and agree to whatever would be stipulated by this board. And if I could just ask, and by the way, I appreciate you allowing me to address you. I didn't realize that I should have wrote a request for public comment, but I appreciate you handling it this way. So just if I could ask Mark, just fill them in as to what happened.
All right. Thank you again for hearing us out. Um, well, last year, I went about it by just calling a few members that I knew on the school board, just seeing how I could go about with this process to get this approved. My whole idea behind this, I know we don't have a rec center, like like Johnson has a rec center. I've played in men's leagues there, but I wanted one, at home. And on top of that, with everybody who I played basketball with when I was in high school, or just at KC, Stephen only didn't matter. So I got together with a group of friends. We all liked the idea. I started a petition, got a lot of people behind it. They all enjoyed it. So I went through with it. And I was here last year. I got approved last year. It was very nice. We thought it ran very smooth. We had one issue early. Ron was notified. We tried to make it right away, and we didn't hear about any complaints after that. We were allowed to continue. We finished the season very nicely. In January, I reached out to the school department prior to submitting a request, just to make sure that the dates were going to be available, because when we ran it last time, we kind of got short notice that it wasn't going to be available. The floors were going to get redone, things like that. But I just wanted to make sure if that was going to be the case again this year. So when I did that, I got a response back that after speaking with a couple of people, I believe it was the principal or director of facilities, that our request was not going to be accepted at this time, but with no reasoning as to why. I went down to the school department after. I asked for a reasoning. I was told that they didn't have one. I asked them, take down my number, call me if there was a reasoning, and I have yet to hear back.
Okay, so let me take a little bit of this. So the committee is not formally aware of this. They have not received a use of property to consider. So first of all, let me say how good it is to see Ron Giorgio here, and Rohelia, Mike, who is our assistant volunteer basketball coach, and Marcus. I know Matt rather. Sorry, Matt. I see Matt. I think of Mike. I just call you Ro. You know how that goes. But I love these boys like my own. They're great kids. So it is good to see you too, by the way, Ron. You look great. So I apologize if the office did not sit down with you, the director of facilities and or his secretary, to provide you the information that was gathered. So my understanding is, well, first of all, the way the process works is when an outside organization, and you would constitute an outside organization because you're not students, and you're not a youth league associated with the town. So when an outside organization requests to use any of our facilities, there is a use of property policy that the school committee has in effect, in a form that has to be filled out. So the first step is the building principal has to be able to say, yes, I support the use of this facility for this organization. And that did occur last year. And then the next step would be, it would go to the director of facilities, who would then look at it and say, yes or no, I can support this use of this facility for this purpose. That did occur last year. Then it would come to me, and I would put it on the agenda for the school committee to approve. So that was the process that was followed last year. Subsequent to that, if in theory that organization or any other organization that had used the facility in the past as an outside organization, if certain things had occurred during the time that they used the facility, for example, in theory, had any illegal activities occurred during the time that they used the building the first time, or had any overtime costs been incurred by the school department. For example, there may be usage of the building that occurs during the summer. So while it was stated that we do have custodians, during the school year we have second shift custodians that cover the building till 11 o'clock. But when those activities go into the summer, all of our custodians are working on cleaning the building and breaking down the buildings. So their shift ends at 3 o'clock. We don't have second shift custodians during the summer. So if the activity requires summer use of the facility, then there would be an overtime cost, which would be incurred by the district. And typically, the organization from the outside using the facility would pay for the overtime. And there's also a rental fee, a pretty substantial rental fee of the high school gym. And so when the application is submitted, there's a down payment that is required. So if any of those things did or did not occur during the first time the organization has used the property. And if there's any outstanding balance, or if in theory there was nothing paid to the school department, either for the rental fee or for the custodians, then when that application comes around a second time, it's very likely that the principal would express concerns to the director of facilities about some of the activities that did occur the first time. And then the facilities director would look into exactly, can those things be rectified? And if they can, okay, what can we do to rectify those kinds of things? In theory, if there were many other people participating in the activity the first year that were not North Providence residents, that were not supposed to be participating in that activity, but did nonetheless. Or in theory, if the principal allowed it the first time and said, but on these dates, we have school events, and you cannot use the facility on these dates, but yet that organization still showed up on those dates and used the facility when the school had activities taking place, even though they were told and given the dates that the event couldn't occur. So if any of these things occurred during the first year, that would cause the application to be a little bit more scrutinized the second time. And then the director of facility would work with the director of finance to say, okay, where do we stand with the rental fee and the cost of overtime? We can potentially solve those other issues, but are they all caught up in terms of the amount of money that is owed the school department? If that is still a question, or if that did not occur, potentially something like that would also cause the director of facilities to say, I concur with the principal, and we can't allow this organization to use the facility once again. So that is probably a synopsis of some of the information that you might have received and probably should have received had you sat down, and you should have. You should have received a call directly from the central office, the director of facilities. I would have been glad to sit down with you, with the principal as well, and we would have explained all of these things. Some of them certainly should have been corrected and probably could have been corrected, but there are other financial implications as well that we have to abide by at the central office to ensure that we follow the school committee policy regarding the rental of our facilities.
Well, I would, I agree with that 100%. I actually was sent a letter to my house informing me of those kind of things. But I was told I was going to get an invoice in the mail every month or so as I was renting. I never received an invoice in the mail. And I called about that, didn't receive a call back. I mean, these are, I'm agreeing with you. I'm okay with all of that happening, but
Yeah, and I will say, if you look at the application, it does say that along with the application, a down payment has to be provided with the application. And that's right on the use of property form.
Let me jump in for a second. As far as the school committee is concerned, we don't decide who gets them. We approve. We have people who decide. So when it comes to us, we don't look at applications. We look at the ones that come to us. So if there was anything going on with it, and I don't know, I don't remember what you rented or what we approved the last time. Was it high school? Was it?
yeah, the boys and girls gym, yeah.
Okay.
And it was in the summertime, yeah, like he was saying.
Got it. Okay. So that's what. So the school committee had no. I mean, this is all news to us.
Yeah, sure.
But it does sound like if we have a conversation that we would just someone needs to set up a meeting and go through what the expectations would be, what would be next steps. I can't imagine that there's no way, unless I'm missing something, that we could have them rectify any concerns so that they can go back, unless there's something I'm not aware of. But I would think that starts with the meeting to review expectations and criteria to see if they can submit the application. I'm just surprised because I thought I heard the mayor say that you were not even allowed to submit the application.
Right. We were.
So you weren't given like an email or a notice that explained why, or okay. Thank you. No, we weren't aware, but I think at minimum there should be a meeting explaining what the expectations would be to get you back into.
Yeah, I don't know about the semantics of that. I know that the secretary did have the information, spoke to the director of facilities, and then the subsequent communication to you from her through him and the building principal occurred. But I don't. They were allowed to just simply ask if the dates would be available, and the answer was, this is probably not something that would be approved. So I don't know how that got lost in translation in terms of, yeah. So the issue would be, I think there are some things that certainly could be rectified in terms of the issues that were experienced, but then we also have the issue of the rental of the facility, which is rooted in policy, and then if any activity occurs in the summer, there are no second shift custodians.
Right.
And
That's
so
all.
there are,
Right. That's something I'm
yeah.
willing to talk about. That's all I really wanted was a fair chance to talk about it to see what the issues were. I just was unaware of it. I try to run this the way that I was told, and that's it.
Take your tour to the town council and ask for the rec center. I'd love to see a recreation
So,
center for the town.
So, Mr. Goho, you'll be able to set some sort of meeting up with these fellows?
Yeah, so Mr. Feroli might not necessarily be available this week, but I'm sure that he and Mrs. McGill would be glad to sit down with you. And if the high school isn't an option, maybe there's another location within the school department at one of our other gyms, because the rental fee for the high school is pretty significant. So there might be something more affordable that can be offered, and a smaller venue as well that might be better, easier for you guys to control. So I'll have Mr. Feroli follow up with you and set up a meeting with you and Mrs. McGill.
Perfect.
And then if we decide to go possibly to another building, that building principal. Mr. Andriozzi?
If I may, do you also have a second application that you were trying to submit as well for a summer clinic or camp?
No, that's
That's-
Matt, actually.
Matt, okay.
I think he's
So-
good for that.
So, according to the athletic director, I guess it goes to him first. He's never received anything. I spoke with him earlier today. Okay. I told him you had all your information with your insurance and so forth. So he's expecting you to contact him at some point in time, or he's going to contact you. So if you want to reach out to him, that would be good for that second one. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Matt, Mr. Ficacelli is going to reach out to you about that. Okay?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
fellas.
gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mayor. Mr. Goho, he does look good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Trying my best. I'm not used to microphones, as you know. No, I just wanted to say that I did help them out last year with the league. And in the first 2 weeks, there was a few things as far as cleanliness went. And I will say, too, the rental fee was waived. So I did inform them of the rental fee last year for the gym, but I was told it was waived. So if there was an issue with that, then we'd have to check with the building inspector. But yeah, I was called once about a couple issues they had with cleanliness being one, and then the other was something going on inside the gym, whatever it was. I called Marcus. I had him take pictures of the gym, make sure it was clean every time. He checked with the janitors every time. It was all rectified as far as I was concerned. There was a few other things that they were never told, and I was never told. So, as far as those are concerned, we couldn't have rectified them because we weren't told about them.
Yeah, I know Mrs. McGill has a pretty exhaustive list of some of the issues that she had to deal with, and I'm sure she'd be glad to share it with you. Can I just ask who told you that the fee was waived? Because the only entity that has the ability to waive the fee would be the school committee, and I know that they took no action to waive the fee.
At the time, I believe it was told to me by Jim. Yeah, that's what I was told at the time. I know they paid for the janitors, or at least were invoiced for the janitors.
I'll speak for myself. I don't have a problem with waiving a fee for you fellas if you're doing all the right things and you're all town residents, and obviously we pay for the custodians and that kind of thing. I'm speaking for myself. But I think you just need to get together with Goho's office and facilities director and iron it all out.
Rod,
I will say, I'm sorry, Mr. Marciano.
Oh,
I
go ahead.
gotta mention something. It just seems to be a breakdown on communication. That's what it seems to be all about. And I think everything can be rectified with better communication.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, they ran a good league. If anything went wrong, I would have been told about it, even as far as the kids went. Not the kids, but the participants. I would have been notified, even through just friends telling me, and nothing occurred. I'm not sure what the list is, but they did rectify everything that was brought to my attention. And they're willing to work with you, and anything they have to do. I mean, they just, all they want to do is provide people, graduates of the town, the use of the gym to play basketball. And also it was brought to my attention at one time that some participants weren't from the town. I personally overlooked the list. And I know that everybody was from the town. And Coach, I'm not sure, Fernando, is that his name? He probably would have known if nobody was.
Well, I'm sure that everybody on the list was in the town, but we're certain that people who were in the building were not from the town.
Well, they did allow spectators, so
Right. So these are the kinds of issues that are not as clear cut and as simple. They do lead to other complications.
Are other organizations not allowed spectators? Is that one of the policies?
There are no other outside organizations other than youth leagues who use our facilities. So you guys used it last year. There was one at Birchwood that did at the same time, and they too have been. My understanding is the same message was delivered to that group that their application was not going to be approved.
Okay. Well, I think if
They weren't from the town.
yeah, so
Well, all right, I just got one question. If you have a copy of the use of property from last year,
Mhm.
it would say right on there if a fee was waived or not.
okay,
So if
that's fine.
somebody communicated that it wasn't, that policy right on that application says if a fee is waived or not waived.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could obtain a copy of that just to see, but yeah. So okay, yeah.
All right. Anyone else?
Those are all valid concerns. My question again is, Joe, you stated that the principal had a list. Maybe there's some things that you knew. Why wasn't that told to these people? The lady that told them, my question to you is, does she have the authority to tell someone that they can't make application for use of the gym?
No, the only information.
You better straighten that out.
The only information that she would have given would have been information that was given to her by the director of facilities.
But then she should have passed it on and maybe they could have fixed it. If there was any questions, I think that's the issue here. Anthony mentioned about communication. I agree. But to me, it's not only a communication. I want to think it's an authority situation of someone trying to think they had the authority to refuse the use of the gym when that's up to this committee.
No, she brought that information to the director of facilities and asked, how should I reply? Or do you want to reply? And that's whatever communication
Yeah.
was subsequent came from her conversation with her superior.
Well, I appreciate you listening, and I'm just hoping this doesn't happen again. I will guarantee you I'll be back. Thank you very much.
Continue with our agenda. We have school committee report requests, none. Old business, don't look at me, none. New business, none. Approval of bills.
Passage.
We have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Should have asked for discussion. Use of property requests.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Pending business, we have none. Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.